Good morning, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you for joining, and I hope that we will be able to enjoy the discussion on a very important topical matter. Now, this morning we are going to talk about Haiti. Haiti is always in the news, especially in recent times, and particularly about an impending US occupation. Now, yesterday I was mulling through the Gleaner and I saw two articles that I thought were interesting and I thought of sharing them with you. That's the Sunday Jamaica Gleaner online. And one of the articles was written, and I shall share my screen with you so that you can see what I'm talking about. Now, one of the articles, as I said before, was written by Martha. Let me make sure that I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Martha Desolume, and she is an advocate for Haiti. She is the founder and president of the Haiti Jamaica Society and represents the Haitian diaspora in the Montana Group, a civil society movement working to resolve the ongoing Haitian crisis. Now, it is in fact a crisis, and it has been a crisis from the very day of its existence, right? Because we know that Haiti went through slavery, and it is the first Black republic in the history of the Americas. Now, after it's only the second independent country after the United States in the Western Hemisphere. So it's something that we need to understand, that Haiti is the second country, independent country, the first Black republic, but the second independent country after the United States, which got its independence in 1776. And we know that Haiti got its independence, fought for its independence, and obtained it in 1804, right? So we need to make that fact very prominent in our discussion today. Now, Martha has written, well, Mirtha, it's not Martha, it's Mirtha. Mirtha has written a very, very important article. And it's an article which is in the domain of anti-imperialism. She is anti-imperialism, particularly as it relates to Haiti. Now, she says here, January 1, 2024, ushered in the momentous 2020, as 220th anniversary of Haiti's independence, an unprecedented feat never again repeated anywhere. Right. And what she's talking about here is the fact that the slave population was able to rise up with the help of their formidable leaders like Toussaint Louverture and the leaders to fight against the injustice of slavery on the island. Now, remember now that if we are to look back at the revolution, there were three very formidable empires at the time. We had the Spanish Empire, we had the British Empire, and also the French Empire. That was the Haiti's overlord. Now, one of the things that we must understand, even though all of these major empires were at loggerheads and they were not united, but they were united when it comes on to slavery, right? And the fact of the matter is that they united to keep slavery down. Well, they were also contesting because the British wanted Haiti, also the Spanish, which also controlled or had colonial ties to the what is known now as the Dominican Republic, didn't want any other, imperial undertakings to be happening in Haiti. And the British had always wanted the island of Hispaniola, which comprises the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So think about the slaves going up against these three formidable empires and winning them. That is something that was extraordinary and a feat, as she's suggesting here, which has never been replicated in the Americas. Now, something that we need to think about. But while the world owes a debt of gratitude to Haiti for freeing humanity by pioneering the cycle of abolition, Haiti was instead condemned to perpetual persecution because that magnificent victory shattered the world economic order based on the heinous scourge of slavery. Now, it's very important for us to understand that this Haitian Revolution also secured American destiny, because now it was the French emperor. What's his name again? The military guy. Napoleon. Right, Napoleon wanted to conquer the entire world. He wanted the French Empire to control the world, just as the United States now is working to control the world. France also at the time, under Napoleon, sought worldwide dominion, and he was working toward that. And Haiti was the primary country that gave the French Empire their wealth, the enormous wealth that they had and that they still have, right? Was acquired on the backs of Black slaves, African slaves, right? We've got to understand that. Now, had the Haitian Revolution failed, then France would not have been weakened, and it was Napoleon's intention to also invade the United States, and perhaps would have won, because he was really a mighty military, strong man, right? If you understand the history of France and what they were seeking to do. Having won the revolution, France was weakened enormously, and as a result of that, had to sell sections like New Orleans and that portion of the United States, which I think is perhaps 1/3 of the United States, I think, to the United States. They sold it very for cheap price, right? And that happened as a result of the Haitian Revolution. Had the Haitian Revolution not succeeded, had it failed, perhaps we would not have the United States of America as we know it today. It could have been under the French, right? It would perhaps be operating under the French Empire, but history would not have it so. In addition to that, we also must remember that Haitians also participated in the Revolutionary War against England when the United States was fighting for its independence. So just to give you a brief historical understanding of what important role the Haitians, right, and the Haitian Revolution have played in terms of securing America's freedom and also the possibility of it becoming an empire, which it is right now, right? Something that is very interesting. And what is very ironic is that when the Haitians won their independence, that the United States, did not recognize them as an independent country, in spite of the fact that they understood that had the revolution failed, that the United States' destiny, right, could also have been threatened, and it would have been threatened by the great Napoleon. Now, the 220 years of ostracism, plunder, isolation, persecution, demonization, repression, and destabilization by France and the US to secure that Haiti would never emerge as a nation have now resulted in utter chaos, where gangs are in fact running the country, committing the most heinous crimes all day, every day, with total impunity, under the complicit eye of an illegitimate criminal government, which is being imposed by the US to preside over a literal genocide against the Haitian people. Now, these are a lot of things that we need to unpack. First of all, we hear in the news, it seems that the gangs are from the lumpen proletariat, that they are from the uneducated. But what she's suggesting here is that the gangs are in fact the leaders of the nation and the political economic elites. They are the real gangs. Now, they might employ people from the lumpen proletariat to do their bidding, but the fact of the matter is that it's not coming from that lower class, and it generally does not. If you read history and you know your history well, a lot of the violence that we have in our society comes from the upper echelons of society. They are the intellectual they are the intellectual, leaders in terms of the ones who actually devise, formulate, right, and plan these violent activities. To make matters worse, the same imperialist powers, which based on reports by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Investigations Unit and the UN Office on Drugs and Crimes, have flooded Haiti with guns and engineered the violence, massacres, and mayhem, are using that as a pretext to once more trample on Haiti's constitution and sovereignty by planning another disastrous military occupation to entrench the illegitimate government and thwart yet again the Haitian people's struggle to regain their sovereignty. And this is what the tactic that the United States normally uses. It will flood your country with guns and also gangs, and then it will create a pretext and say that they need to occupy. They need to go to Haiti, or they need to go to wherever and be able to relieve the people and to bring freedom and democracy to that nation. Now, she is suggesting here that, the United States is using both Jamaica and Kenya to do their bidding and to do the dirty work for them, right? And this is something that Jamaicans need to understand, and all Kenyans in Africa need to understand that their country or their countries are being used to, to repress Haitian rights and the rights of the people, the Haitian people, to be an independent country. Now, she's using there that they are brainwashed, and I'm very interested. I'm actually flabbergasted that the Gleaner online would have published this article, because the Gleaner tends to, be on the side of the government, and at this moment, the Andrew Holness's led government, that's Jamaica's prime minister, is going full blown. They're on board rather with the United States and its quest to control Haitian resources. Unless anyone should think that all of the above is just conspiracy theory, as many have been brainwashed to believe, we suggest that they listen to Minister Horace Chang's Beyond the Headlines interview on December 5, in which Dion Jackson Miller valiantly sought to take the government to task for the cruel and illegal summary deportations of Haitian refugees. And for those of you who are not aware, because of what is happening in Haiti, many of them they're fleeing their country. Some of them, a lot of them have come over to the Dominican Republic. Some have gone to other Caribbean countries like Bahamas, but they also showed up on Jamaican soil. And the Jamaican authorities turned them back, right? That sent them back home. So much about Black power and the fact that we're all Black and we're trying to free each other, right? A lot of times we tend to think that we are unified as white and Black people, as you think you are. But, it doesn't work like that. Because in many cases, as I told you, that a lot of our differences, similarities have to do with our national and cultural identities. And a lot of times, if I don't see you sharing my cultural identity, not because we have the same complexion, it means therefore that we are going to see eye to eye. And this is also another fallacy that we need to get rid of. We need to rid our minds of. Not all Europeans are not united, right? In fact, that's why I've told you, many wars on European soil. And the founding fathers of the United States had warned Americans against being involved in European wars, because the founding fathers understood that the Europeans have always been warmongers, and that they always had wars, always among themselves. So you need to understand that. So Jamaicans sent Haitians back to Haiti because Jamaica cannot, at this point in time, perhaps take care of the Haitians who landed there. Now, Chang tried to drown out Dion with loud denials and strident protestations about all of the wonderful assistance that Jamaica is supposedly providing for Haiti. And this is the same thing that the Dominican Republic uses to. They say the same thing. And when they do that, people in Jamaica also tend to criticize the Dominican Republic, but the fact of the matter, we are doing the same thing. It says here, in the heat of this verbal torrent, Minister Chang forgot himself and said the quiet part of out loud. The world has victimized Haiti, he's suggesting here, he asserted, and Jamaica is not going to take on that responsibility. So this is what Horace Chang, and Horace Chang, for those of you who are not Jamaicans, is the Minister of National Security, right? So he's saying that the world, the international community has exploited Haiti. That's what he's literally saying. And Jamaica cannot take on that responsibility, right? To some extent, that is true, right? Jamaica cannot afford to take on Haiti's, the sort of chaos that we're seeing there. But I think what Martha rather, is hinting at is the fact that Jamaicans are participating or seem to be desirous of participating in the US-led occupation of Haiti. Now, why are you now going to participate in that? Well, Jamaicans might say that they are trying to free Haiti, right? But are they really? Because we know, if you know the history very well, you know that the United States, and when I say the United States now, I mean the United States elites, political economic elites, are not interested in the upliftment of Haitian people, right? They are not. And may I say it again, I'm not saying ordinary Americans are not, because Americans, there are lots of Americans who are in fact helping Haiti, right? And we can see a lot of evangelicals, perhaps some Catholics also, and other groups, among other groups, who have helped Haiti very well. I remember being at Howard University in 2003, was it 2004? Yes, 2004, when they had when they ousted, the United States military ousted the Jean Bertrand Aristide. And as the graduate president, the president of the graduate associate of my department, that's a Spanish department, we sent, we collected funds and clothes and lots of other things that the Haitian people might have needed, and sent them through a reputable organization down to the country. So Americans have always and continue to help Haiti, but the US government and the political economic elites are not interested in the upliftment of Haitian people. And we need to always distinguish between the American elites and the ordinary people. She says here, bam, the truth will out. Truly a jaw-dropping moment after decades of pretense that the centuries-old international plot to oppress and destroy the Haitian people was nothing more than a conspiracy theory. Finally, a stunning admission from a high-level Caribbean official on national radio that not only is it common knowledge, but what's more, it's none of our business. It's interesting that Mirtha was also on a talk show with former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Bruce Golding. And Bruce Golding pretended as if he did not understand that the United Nations, among other multilateral organizations, including the United States government, are not interested in helping Haiti. And we've seen that every time they go there, the situation worsens. It does not improve, right? And this is why people, well, do you know that, what's his name, Frederick Douglass was an ambassador to Haiti? Sometimes I think during the the latter part of the 19th century. Could have been in the early 1890s, if I remember very well. But he decided that he would leave because when he looked at how America was exploiting Haiti and what Haiti represented for Black Americans and Americans in general, including what we call white Americans, because as I suggested, had it not been for the Haitian Revolution, the United States might have been conquered by Napoleon, who had at the time a stronger military, right? The United States didn't have a military at the time. If they did had, it was very weak, and it could not have conquered French, or the French rather, could not have conquered France had it not been for the Haitian Revolution, which weakened significantly the French Empire. All right. Without Haiti, France did not have any power, economic or military power. Right? So that is what you need to understand. A small island in the Caribbean. When you think about that minute, that small island in the Caribbean provided all of that wealth, or most of the wealth that France accumulated over the years since they were started on the island. Something very incredible and something very difficult to conceptualize. But it is so. Now, so why all the hypocrisy on the part of CARICOM, she's suggesting here, in jumping to take part in a supposed security support mission? Because CARICOM is enslaved to the United States of America, right? They understand that they cannot contest the imperial might of this giant to the north, right? They know that they can't. And if they do, they also will suffer the injustices, right? That power can inflict upon them. And in 2010, the same Bruce Golding was ousted as prime minister because the Americans thought that he didn't want to obey instructions. And so he had to be relieved of his power. So I was wondering what was so surprising to Mr. Bruce Golding about what is happening in Haiti, and the fact that the international community does not necessarily mean Haiti very well. Neither does it mean Jamaica any well, right? And we can see what the IMF has done to Jamaica and the impoverishment that it has caused to that island over the years. We're not talking about the IMF now, I just had to digress there. But Mr. Golding should have known better when he had this conversation with Mirtha, and he should have read some of the history, and I'm sure he has read some of the history of what has taken place in Haiti, right? It's time for us to take stock. Now, when Minister Chang's inadvertent admission and the egregious inhumanity meted out to the refugees have proved time and time again that the welfare of the Haitian people is the furthest thing from their minds. Simple. There's money in it. Haiti is once again being sold on the auction block. Now, she didn't say what money is in it. Is Jamaica receiving money from its participation in this military occupation, in this impending military occupation? Is the country itself receiving money, or are the major actors like the Horace Changs and the Andrew Holnesses getting money from the US and the core group to participate in this US-led Haitian occupation? I'm not sure if that is what she's hinting at, and I would like to speak with Merita on this channel to explore ideas and to see what's really going on in Haiti. Now, abysmal. We have here the US and UN's track record in Haiti is so abysmal that in order to maintain the moral high ground on Ukraine, their lips dripping with spurious platitudes advocating for the democracy and self-determination in Ukraine, which they are blatantly crushing in Haiti, but they're also not achieving that in the Ukraine, right? All of that is hypocrisy, as she's suggesting here. There's no democracy right now in the Ukraine. In fact, things are worse than before the occupation. They have been forced to tour the world searching for fronts to hide behind to continue perpetrating their extermination plan against the Haitian people. Now, this is really, really strong words, extermination plan, right? To exterminate. This is genocide, by the way. And what we see happening in Gaza, right, should not really surprise us if that is an agenda. And what should be more surprising, or what should be concerning, actually surprising, but what should be more concerning to all of us in that this is taking place or will take place in the Caribbean, which is just, a throwaway from the US shore, from the United States. So the US citizens also have got to take stock, because perhaps now the emperor is without clothes and will kill anyone within its reach, right? So what is happening in Haiti at the moment, all US citizens and all people in the Caribbean should be paying close attention as to how this will play out and what will be the end of this crisis, if there will ever be an end. I don't think there will ever be an end to the Haitian crisis, because these colonial powers or former colonial powers are determined that Haiti will not rise again out of the ashes of poverty. All self-respecting nations turn down the dirty job. So in a vulgar show of yard foul politics, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken started banding about the ever-escalating hundreds of millions of dollars that have brought the CARICOM and Kenyan volunteers running to rescue Haiti. US Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary Blinken also made unprecedented trips to the Bahamas and Trinidad to meet with CARICOM heads and promised myriad initiatives that will yield hundreds of millions of more in economic benefits. So that is interesting. So the entire occupation, as she's suggesting here, has to do with money, economics, right? And that's what imperialism is all about, right? That you are going to control the resources of another country, right? Whether it's oil or it's minerals, whatever they want, right? They will get. And if you don't want to give it to them, it might result in genocide, right? That you will be killed. Now, in the statement I delivered on behalf of the Haitian people in the Eminent Persons Group, mandated by CARICOM to mediate the negotiations between the Haitian stakeholders, I gave them a single guideline for their endeavor: to not show contempt for Haiti by trying to impose on her what they would not accept for their own countries. But that is precisely what CARICOM has done. They have even gone as far as to insult the Haitian people by thinking of the possibility of inviting gang leaders into the negotiations. Wow. And I think the gang leaders that she's referring to here are the leaders, the elites in Haiti, right? The political economic elites. Now she's asking the question, what manner of men? Once upon a time, CARICOM leaders were intellectual giants with moral authority and a deep sense of history from which they derived their principles: backbone, character, pride, and ensuring self-respect. And I think I agree 100% with this statement. In 2004, weathering threats and pressure from the State Department, CARICOM refused to sanction the coup d'etat against democratically elected President Aristide by the US and France, opting instead to suspend Haiti from the community for 2 years until a new president was democratically elected. Now, the fact of the matter is that Patterson, that was PJ Patterson, who had actually invited Aristide to Jamaica. In fact, I think that it was the Prime Minister's request to have Aristide stay in Jamaica, but the US they objected to that decision. So he spent a few days in Jamaica before he was sent to Central Africa, right? I think that Patterson learned his lesson, and the Caribbean in general, that you cannot oppose decisions of the United States or sanctions, economic sanctions and other sanctions will impose on the country, on that particular country who dares challenge the power, the imperial undertakings of the United States and the members of the core group. It is hard to comprehend the vertiginous devolution of this new crop of CARICOM heads who, for the most part, seem to have no other ambition than to ingratiate themselves to empire for economic gain. But one of the things that is interesting is that the country is not benefiting. Really, it's the actors, right? The political actors and the economic actors, they're the ones who are benefiting from whatever economic gain, because certainly the country is more impoverished. Jamaica has not benefited at all from what is happening here. They have not been honest brokers. They have accepted traffic in their own legitimacy to legitimize a criminal and illegal dictator officially implicated in the assassination of his predecessor. Now she's talking about Henri, right? That is the current president, prime minister. I don't know. I think he might be the president who is presiding over the genocide of his own people. They have shielded Haiti's tormentors by providing them with a black face for the outsourced repression of the Haitian people. Right? So she's quoting here from the late journalist, that is John Maxwell, and he was a Jamaican journalist, and he wrote prolifically on the Haitian crisis, right? He was always a strong advocate for Haiti's self-determination and wrote against American imperialism. And he did not really, mince his words, right? He was candid about the U.S. Agenda in Haiti. The late great journalist John Maxwell famously declared that what the Caribbean needs is a CARICOM of the people. The lionized sage had long ago recognized that the gallant people of the Caribbean were not to be confused with their leaders, who are mostly pursuing self-serving interests. That's what we need to understand, that our prime ministers are not running these countries in the interest of the people, right? Everything is self-serving. The Haitian people do not want the occupation. The Caribbean people are against the occupation. The Kenyan people have rejected the occupation. They have all marched against it. But their so-called leaders are charging headlong with tunnel vision towards the lure of profit. And I can say that it is personal profit. It has nothing to do with developing their economies. And that is what we need to understand, because they are all a part of the elites. And so much talk about Black history, and we're all Black people and we're great and stuff like that, and that we're well-intentioned, right? We are just individuals, just like Europeans, who are seeking our self-interest, because as the Bible suggests, right, the heart above all things is desperately wicked. And whether you are cloaked in what you call a white skin or a yellow skin or a black skin, your heart, above all things, that's when it's not connected to God, is evil and desperately wicked. I want you to understand it and stop talking about the whole matter that we're all Black, so it means therefore that we are going to work towards the liberation of all Black people. That is not going to happen, right? You might have a few who are, what should I say now, men of integrity, but for the most part, many people, irrespective of your nationality and your ethnic background, and I'm talking here about our leaders, do not have the populace, the large majority of the citizens at heart. They don't have their interest, I should say, at heart. right? And that is what you need to understand. Stop thinking that it's only the white man who is going to, decimate, because the white man is also using the black man to accomplish his agenda. And we need to understand that a lot of these people who have these high positions in the United Nations, right? They could be Haitians or Jamaicans or Trinidadians. The large majority of them are not working in the interest of any Black people or of these predominantly Black countries. They are just not working for the interest. They are being used as stooges and also as puppets. And you've got to understand that. She's suggesting here, let me end with her. It is a cruel irony that the Haitian people who literally invented human rights and ultimately broke the chains of slavery off their neighbors' feet are the ones being denied the right to live as human beings and being subjected to this day, to a relentless struggle against re-enslavement. We call on all well-thinking persons, particularly the people of the Caribbean and Africa, to rise up for the liberation of Haiti on this, her 220th anniversary of independence in this decade for peoples of African descent, and to stand against the continued trampling of her sovereignty and the Constitution, which, by the way, the would-be occupiers plan to unilaterally write. And this I did not know when I read it yesterday, that they're actually planning to rewrite the Haitian Constitution. Now, it was rewritten also during the America's first occupation, because when the Haitian Constitution was written in 1804, thereabout after its independence, a clause within that Constitution was that, whites were not allowed, I guess, foreign whites to get land in Haiti. They really wanted to develop, the Haiti for Blacks, right? And if you were a white person or deemed yourself white, right, and you also had to be under the Constitution to be Black. But the United States, when in the occupation of Haiti in 1915, they also changed aspect of that constitution, or changed that clause in the Constitution, and allowed whites to be able to buy land in Haiti. Before that, it was very difficult for a person of European descent to buy land in Haiti. A Black person could, but not a white person, not a person of European descent, that is. Now, it's interesting that there is another article that was under that article that from the same Gleaner, the Jamaica Gleaner, and this article was entitled, it was written by Curtis Ward, and he says Haiti, Kenya, the port, and the diaspora, that's the Haitian diaspora. Now, let's look at who is Curtis Ward. Curtis Ward is a former ambassador of Jamaica to the United Nations with special responsibility for Security Council affairs. He is an attorney and international consultant on geopolitical and international security issues, and is an anti-corruption advocate, right? And this is an article that was written by him. Now, both he and Mirtha are acknowledging that Haiti is in a crisis, right? And that Haiti needs help. I think where they differ is, I think Mirtha is, asserting that Haitians should be left to handle their situation, right? As many people who are anti-imperialist are suggesting. This Curtis Ward is suggesting that that cannot be so. It's not pragmatic for Haitians to be left to deal with their crisis. They are going to need help from the international community. Well, I don't understand if Curtis Ward understands that the United Nations have and the international community have always attempted to help Haiti. And every time they go there, it's never worked. And the situation has always worsened. I don't know if Curtis Ward is aware of that. I'm sure he's aware of that. But he thinks that, irrespective of what history might have taught us, that there is going to be there is some need for international cooperation. One of the things that came to mind as I read Curtis's article yesterday was the fact that Toussaint Louverture, which was, perhaps one of the greatest military, you know, um, leaders that we have ever seen in the Western Hemisphere, in the Western world at large. In fact, people compare him to Napoleon, right? So he's on that level, right? This is the Toussaint Louverture, the great um, emancipator of the Haitian people. Now, Toussaint Louverture was the one who had done a lot of reading on liberty and human rights, and he read all the great French philosophers and among other philosophers that or who spoke about human rights and the whole matter of equality and brotherhood and all of those lovely words and equality. Now, the fact of the matter is that Toussaint thought that, in order for Haiti, that's post-emancipated Haiti, to survive and to be able to become cultured and a refined nation as the other developed Western nations were, they had to enlist the services of former colonial masters, right? That's what he thought. He genuinely thought that we can't just kill them all. We can't just send them away. We have to keep some because they have the skills and the education to be able to train our people so that they can be able to learn some of the valuable lessons that from these former slave masters. But that was a mistake that he made because as we have learned, well, he learned afterwards because he was exiled from Haiti to France and and died alone in a solitary place in Haiti, in France. Now, they kidnapped him because he trusted them. And this is what I think we perhaps might be doing here, Curtis Ward. I think that if we think that the international community is going to help, we are going to be deceived and they are going to betray us because that is what the so-called white people did to Toussaint Louverture. He was looking or seeking a balanced perspective, a balanced solution to the problem. But one of the things we have to understand about humans and about greed, about human greed, is that it is either black or white. Is either you are going to be greedy or not be greedy. And when people are greedy, as we see, in many of our leaders, be they US leaders or Kenyan leaders or Jamaican, Haitian leaders, they are greedy and they will kill. They will not stop at anything but to achieve their purposes. And that is what Curtis Ward needs to understand. I do not think at this juncture of Haitian history that the international community can help them. I think perhaps what needs to be done is that ordinary members like you, Curtis, and other people like myself and other well-thinking people of the Haitian people and who have their interests at heart, yes, should be able to come together with the skills that we have acquired to be able to build Haiti, but to leave this in the hands of the international leaders and politicians and international agencies such as the UN, that is a pipe dream that will not be achieved. And I think at this point of your life, Curtis, we should understand that. Now, there is an urgency that is Curtis speaking here for the restoration of political order. So he's acknowledging that there is a lot of chaos in Haiti. Democracy, the rule of law, good governance, and the protection and guarantee of the rights and freedoms of Haiti's citizens. Haiti's historic revolution provided aspirational goals for enslaved and oppressed peoples around the world. Haitians, having fought for and won their freedom, were penalized and made to suffer for more than 200 years by imperial oppressors fearful that the Haitian success could be replicated elsewhere, which it did, right? So whether or not they like it, it was replicated elsewhere, and slaves fought against their slave masters and won, including in the very United States of America. And one of the reasons why, the United States did not seek to recognize rather Haiti's independence and, barricaded that independence. There was a block on anything, what do they call it now? Economic sanctions placed on Haiti because of her independence. Now think about the fact that the United States got its independence from Great Britain, right? Fought for her independence because she thought that she was also, enslaved to British economic and imperial interests. Now, the same thing happened in Haiti, and the United States sought not to acknowledge. Why? Because at the time, the United States was practicing slavery. And they did not want the Black American slaves at the time to think that Haiti should be a standard and rise up against the powers that be in the United States, right? And that's one of the primary reasons why Haiti was not recognized as an independent nation by the very United States, which says that it was the exemplar of democracy in the Western Hemisphere. The hypocrisy of the human race. And you need to understand that. The first Black nation to free itself of colonial oppression and inhumane servitude deserves our support. Now, US government remains committed. This is what Curtis Ward is saying. I do not understand his view, but this is his opinion, right? And his perspective, which should be respected. You might not agree with it, but we need to respect what he's saying here. The ruling of Kenya's lower court is a setback, right? So I guess he wants the Kenyans to go to Haiti, which Miritha is disagreement. And I agree with Miritha that the Kenyans are not going to be a solution, nor the Jamaicans, right? The solution to Haiti's problem. Because this is a US-led occupation. And all US-led occupations so far since 1915 have been catastrophically, right? It has been a catastrophic failure, right? And so we have to be understanding of that. We need to, I don't know what Curtis is thinking. And he should be aware of the history of Haiti and its imperial and the imperial undertakings there to return it to years of slavery, to enslave the people of the country. Now, the US government, in a statement issued by the State Department, that's the DOS, on January 27th, acknowledged the ruling and the Kenyan government's intent to appeal. The DOS spokesperson said the United States' commitment to the Haitian people remains unwavering. Come on, Curtis, what does that mean? Because they say that means that their commitment is unwavering. Are they even committed to the United States people? And he lives there, so Curtis should understand. And I think that he teaches at the University of the District of Columbia, right, in Washington, D.C. The USG reaffirmed its support of ongoing international efforts to deploy an MSS mission for Haiti as requested by Haiti and authorized by UN Security Council Resolution 2699. So he is believing what the Department of State is saying. Can we ever believe what the United States government, says or does not say? Right? In recent times, all we're hearing are lies, right? But that's what he thinks. In reiterating its call for restoration of democratic order through an inclusive political process in Haiti, including consensus in a power-sharing and inclusive governance, and for free and fair elections, the USG can and must do more towards consensus building among the various political factions. It also requires congressional participation and support in this process. Now, I do not think that that is going to happen. Now, the Haitian diaspora imperative. Political progress in Haiti will require concentrated pressure by the Haitian diaspora and governments who are benefactors to many of the Haitian politicians. It is often claimed by several of these factional leaders and their diaspora supporters that Haitians at home can solve Haiti's problems if left alone to do so. Now, this is what I thought was interesting, an interesting statement by Curtis Ward. This nationalistic argument defies reality. How does it defy reality? Now, this is the same thing that Toussaint might have been thinking, that if he had left, if whites had just left Haiti at the time of its independence or its emancipation at the end of slavery, not independence, because, Toussaint Louverture did not live to see Haitian independence, right? But he lived to see the Haitian slaves be freed, right, from the institution of slavery, right? They were emancipated, but the country had not yet gained its independence. It was the Salinas who eventually achieved that goal. So let's be clear on that point here. But Toussaint Louverture thought that the whites were going to help them to gain that sort of development, to develop and to be a competitor of the Western, of any Western nation. But that did not happen because the whites betrayed Toussaint, even though he treated them very well. And he wanted a balanced solution to the problem. He didn't want to appear as any hater of the former colonial overlords. But what happened eventually, right? They betrayed him and took him to France, where he died. So, Curtis, you've got to remember history here, and history has a very awkward way of repeating itself, right? So, you've got to be careful, Curtis, what you are actually recommending here, because based on what we're seeing over the years, the international community led by these, grand international organizations such as the United Nations have not helped Haiti in any way. They have collaborated with the imperial efforts of the United States and the core group. And I think, Curtis, you understand that. I should not be here lecturing you on that. You know that. So I'm not sure what you are thinking. This nationalistic, so we talked about this, and he says that that's not going to happen. My reading of Haitian Das, okay, I think did he say that? Given the state of deterioration in the systems of governance and the rule of law, prevalence of corruption, and the country's lack of resources, and provides no realistic path to resolving Haiti's problems. Well, the other countries, including the United States, are just as corrupt or even more corrupt than Haiti is. Because make no bones about it, Sir Curtis Ward, the United States is a very corrupt country. My reading of the Haitian diaspora suggests that most members support the authorized Kenyan-led mission and for the process of political compromise in Haiti. How does he know that? Maybe he just has some discernment because there's nothing there. He has no evidence to suggest that the Haitian diaspora are in fact supportive of the Kenyan-led mission, right? And he's saying it's a Kenyan-led mission. It's really the US-led mission. The Kenyans are just being used as proxies, right? And I think Curtis should understand that, but he perhaps doesn't. Several are prepared to offer their expertise and other resources in support of the mission and a path to political consensus. Diaspora engagement appropriately mobilized in partnership with benefactor countries should be a priority. This is great in terms of, from a theoretical perspective, but the reality on the ground, right, contradicts here what Curtis here is recommending. And this is what is happening to a lot of our educated people in the Caribbean and the world in general, that we tend to think in this academic term, using academic language, and think that that is going to solve our problems. Because theoretically, that is what is in the brain. We have been brainwashed to believe that these international communities and international efforts are going to salvage the problems of the world. And in many cases, if we read the history, we are going to realize that they contribute to the problems that these countries are facing. And then the same contributors to the problems are the ones we rely on to provide the solutions, right, to the problem. Now, that to me is something that it's diabolic. It's nothing that we would want to um implement. I don't think the United Nations at this point of its history is going to save the world, right? Because first of all, the United Nations was created to ensure that there are not many wars around the world, right? And have they? I mean, since they have been, founded as the United Nations, we have seen a lot of wars waged around the world. No sooner than they were formed than the United States entered the Cold War. We saw another war, and we have been having wars upon wars upon wars. They have not stopped, right? And all the United Nations does is that what does it do? It actually, make platitudinous speeches, right, to people and talk about the fact that it's against the war, right? But it does nothing to contain these wars, right? Because it is controlled by the US and the global elites. And that is what you need to understand. There should be no doubt that diasporic Haitians have a rightful stake in shaping their country's future. A fully engaged diaspora will be the guarantor of stability in a future Haiti. Never sure there will be any sort of stability in Haiti, right? Because that is the quest of the global elites, right? To let people know that any contestations, right, of their supremacy, of the elite supremacy, will be put down, right? Anybody who contests the global elite's quest for world supremacy, right, will be carefully and they will be carefully dealt with, and they will be humiliated on the world stage. And Haiti is that example in the world, right? It is being humiliated because it dared to have defeated three mighty empires, the British, the French, and the Spanish, during their quest for their freedom during the Haitian Revolution. Something that you need to read about and you need to study. Since then, we have also had lots of other revolutionary independent wars waged in the Caribbean and in Latin America, right? And those also, a lot of them were put down, right? And we had, in recent times, in 1983, the whole Grenadian Revolution, right? Under Bishop, right? Maurice Bishop. And that was also put down, right? So I think people now understand that you cannot, at this juncture of the history, contest America's imperial might, because she is the indispensable power in the world. She is the power that no one wants to contest. And I think the leaders, including the citizens of the world, including in the United States, citizens also are tired. People are tired of fighting, right? And to some extent, I think they have given up. And the United States is achieving, its imperial goals and agendas. Now, it's time for us to wake up and to understand that we are living in dangerous times, right? And as the famous quotation from the illustrious Dr. Martin Luther King, he says here, and I quote, these are the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Let me repeat that expression, that statement from the illustrious, right? The dynamite, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. As human beings, we are interconnected, and whatever injustice takes place in Haiti, and is happening right now, are going to be the same injustices that will afflict every human being on this planet, regardless of where you find yourself, whether you're in America or you're in the Caribbean or you're in Europe or in Africa or in Asia. You are going to experience the same injustices or even worse, right? And I think US citizens are going to receive the greatest part of that injustices, right? Because the Bible enjoins upon us, to whom much is given, much is required. And the United States citizens have a right to be aware of what their government is doing around the world and to sound the alarm. But too many are sleeping and they haven't got a clue of what is happening in the world and how these injustices are going to be exported, right? Home will return home. And those tactics that were used on other populations of the world will also be used on US citizens. Very important that you understand that in this history of Black History Month. In this time, it's time for us to reflect on our common humanity and begin to understand, as immortalized in the words here of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have had another discussion, and I look forward to seeing you in our next chat. Don't you?